Hello everyone, my name is Jade Chase and I'm a registered nurse. I am also the co-founder and CEO of Intuitive RN. Nursing is a very difficult profession and I've witnessed hundreds of nurses burn out early in their careers. Here at Intuitive RN, we've developed an innovative tool that supports nurses in their clinical skill development and keeps them in the profession longer. As new nurses emerge from college and march to the patient bedside, they're encountering challenges for which they're not trained or prepared. As a result, we are losing them at an alarming rate. Take for instance Sarah here. She is a new graduate nurse and just completed orientation. One of her patients is having a tough day and difficulty breathing, and she's not sure what to do. She can't find another nurse to assist her, and she's already stressed out. Now I've seen this a lot of times, and nurse turnover is a major issue at every hospital. New grad nurses list low job satisfaction really as their primary reason for leaving the profession. This is due to heavy workloads, lack of continued education, and an inability to ensure patient safety, which is an important thing to every nurse. What we're really talking about here is a lack of clinical competency. Industry surveys reveal that almost 50% of new grad nurses leave the profession in the first 2 years of practice. The human toll for patients is alarming. The cost to hospitals is equally alarming. The average hospital in the US loses $5.7 million annually just to nurse turnover. That equals about $52,000 per bedside nurse. Here's where Intuitive RN comes in. Today, for the first time ever, nurses are being issued cell phones at the start of their shift. Now, when I started nursing over 13 years ago, I carried around a pager. This is a game changer because previously, nurses were not allowed to have phones at the bedside. Now they have a smartphone that can be used for more than just communicating. Intuitive RN was designed to bridge the gap between student nurse and novice nurse by enhancing clinical skill development. The app is in its MVP state and includes only 10 primary diagnoses, but we're working to add more content. We feel that approximately 100 pre-selected diagnoses would assist a new graduate nurse in their first 2 years of clinical practice. To date, we've had over 3,000 downloads and a 4.7-star rating on the App Store. In the past, when a nurse encountered a clinical diagnosis that they were not familiar with, they would have to rely on a seasoned nurse to help them out. But in today's world, nurses are stretched thin. Now, the inexperienced nurse can pull out their smartphone, quickly access a diagnosis in Intuitive RN, and receive instant assistance with assessment, care management, medications, discharge planning, clinical information. The app acts as a sort of clinical pathway, allowing the nurse to quickly move through critical thinking processes and better decipher clinical problems. We've written the information in our app and it has been passed through nursing peer reviews and doctor approval. Now, Intuitive RN is designed to meet the needs of the modern-day novice nurse. However, that nurse will progress in his or her career, and we envision offering a suite of applications to help develop the next set of clinical competencies. For instance, a novice nurse, after working on a general medical unit for a couple years, may want to transfer to the intensive care unit. That happens fairly regularly. At that point, additional clinical training is needed, and we will provide that. The idea is to develop other clinical applications that the nurse would use when they transfer to a specialty unit, like the ICU or labor and delivery or the emergency room. Now, other apps we see in the marketplace today are simply informational apps that provide terminology for nurses. A prime example is Nurse Central. Think of this as a textbook in an app form. Now, Intuitive RN is a support tool that promotes bedside skill development, clinical development. We've taken the knowledge of a clinical mentor and infused it into our app, focusing on developing clinical skills, assessment skills, clinical pathway identification, and task management. Now, these features make our app unique in the marketplace. And to be honest, we beat the so-called competitors on pricing. The market size, as you can imagine, is quite large, with over 6,000 acute care hospitals spread across the United States. These hospitals employ over 2.4 million acute care nurses who work in bedside or clinical positions. We are currently targeting nursing students also who are in the last 2 years of nursing school, who are completing their clinical rotations in a local hospital. Add to that the graduate nurses who are in their first 1 to 2 years of practice. We're talking about 1.2 million nurses here that can benefit from our product. Our ultimate goal, however, is to target hospital systems and sell our products to them. We are devising our strategy to accomplish that now. Our go-to-market strategy so far has been to sell Intuitive RN kind of piecewise to individual nurses, and we've had some success doing that. We've done this to help beta our app and work out any problems that we might have. Now, going forward, we will focus our sales efforts on nurse residency programs, which help student nurse transition to the novice nurse role. 2 such programs that I can bring up are the one at St. Luke's Medical Center here in Boise, Idaho, called the STAR program, where both myself and our co-founder, Lloyd, have worked at St. Luke's. And I've also reached out to my contacts in the Air Force and begun to investigate opportunities in their nurse transition program, which is a residency program just offered through the Air Force. In 2021, our goal is to grow sales in hospitals in Idaho and Montana, focusing on rural communities where nurses need the most support due to low staffing levels. Now, developing partnerships with nurse residency programs at these hospitals will serve as our gateway into their clinical units. Okay, here are our financial projections. Revenue dollars are in thousands, and the little white number underneath the revenue number, that's the number of hospitals that we need to sell to reach that revenue amount. Now, access to our app would cost a hospital $50,000. Now, if you think back to one of my first slides, I talked about that the average hospital spends about $52,000 to replace one single nurse due to turnover. So if our app helps keep one nurse from turning over, the hospital will break even. By 2024, when we plan to sell to 200 hospitals, and remember, there are over 6,000 hospitals across the US, then we are generating $10 million in annual recurring revenue. Our exit strategy ultimately will be to sell our content and our products to a learning platform such as Relias Healthcare, who offers personalized training and assessment for healthcare professionals. Okay, here's the team that can get it done. All right, so Lloyd, our co-founder and CTO, has over 9 years of nursing experience. And he actually coded himself the MVP version of the app. His experience includes bedside and leadership roles at St. Luke's. His father, Ron, has over 35 years experience as an ER physician, and he serves as our medical director. And I'm Jade. You've met me. I'm our CEO. I have over 13 years of nursing experience, 4 of them on active duty in the United States Air Force Nurse Corps. And I'm just super excited about Intuitive RN. We have also identified immediate needs for a chief nurse who can help oversee our content creation and a marketing director with experience in the field of healthcare innovations and sales. So what are we looking for here? We're asking for an infusion of $500,000 and an initial investment to help us accomplish really 3 major things. The first is to develop our content and feed it into the app. Now, our plan is to build a crowdsourcing platform or website that nurses from around the country can access, and we will pay them to help us develop content. If we win the Boise Startup Week competition, that $20,000 will go directly to setting up our crowdsourcing platform and kickstarting this important effort. Next, we need to also invest in our user interface and improve our customers' experience using the app. And lastly, we need to beef up our marketing efforts like I was talking about and gain traction with hospitals. Intuitive RN is already having a positive effect on nursing practice. Becky here, who works in clinical operations management, has been encouraging nurses in her hospital to download and use our app at the bedside. She told us the other day that nurses have said, "Your app does it all." Nothing sounds better to us than hearing nurses gain confidence in their clinical practice skills. It's clear the time for Intuitive RN is now. Today, in the middle of a global health crisis, and at a time when nurses are needed more than ever before to be the backbone of our healthcare system, nurses need support. Intuitive RN provides the support by developing clinical competencies that will make nurses more secure in their jobs and keep them in a clinical care for a career instead of just a year. Again, my name is Jade Chase, and I'm here to take your questions. Thank you.